Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Silence has its power. It can be a fortress of wisdom, a place of reflection, or a shield against needless conflict. But sometimes silence can also be an accomplice to destruction. Today, I want to share with you a perspective that could transform your relationships, your leadership, and your influence. Silence is one of the most misunderstood tools in human relationships and communication. It has been praised for its wisdom, revered for its power, and sometimes feared for its mystery. However, silence was never meant to be a substitute for action, a shield for avoidance, or a solution to conflict. While it has its place in fostering understanding and reflection, silence becomes dangerous when used inappropriately, particularly in the face of disrespect. To understand the nuanced role of silence, we must explore its strengths and limitations, especially when navigating challenges in relationships and leadership. Silence has a unique ability to diffuse tension, giving all parties involved the opportunity to think clearly before reacting. In moments of heightened emotion, choosing silence can demonstrate restraint, maturity, and wisdom. It prevents words spoken in anger or haste, which can leave lasting wounds. For example, when faced with an unkind remark or provocation, silence can signal that you refuse to engage in negativity or stoop to the level of the disrespectful. In this way, silence can be a temporary buffer, a pause that de-escalates a volatile situation. However, silence is not the endpoint. It is a tool that helps prepare the ground for thoughtful and meaningful responses. When silence becomes a default mode, especially in the face of repeated disrespect, it loses its power and transforms into complicity. Ignoring acts of disrespect under the guise of keeping the peace often results in deeper problems. The individual who disrespects you may begin to perceive your silence as acceptance or weakness, reinforcing their behavior. Worse, over time, unaddressed disrespect chips away at your self-respect and creates resentment, not only toward the other person, but also toward yourself for tolerating it. True wisdom lies in knowing when to use silence and when to break it. Silence in the wrong context can enable harmful behavior and perpetuate misunderstandings. For instance, if a friend or colleague makes a hurtful comment and you remain silent, they may never realize the impact of their words. Silence in this scenario deprives them of the opportunity to grow and adjust their behavior. It also sends a message that your feelings or boundaries are negotiable or unimportant. The truth is that silence is not neutral. It is a message in itself. When you choose not to speak, you allow others to interpret your silence, and those interpretations can often lead to further miscommunication or damage. In relationships, silence can be particularly destructive when used as a coping mechanism for avoiding conflict. Many people remain silent after experiencing disrespect because they fear confrontation, worry about damaging the relationship, or doubt whether their voice will be heard. While these concerns are valid, silence is rarely a sustainable solution. Instead of fostering understanding, it creates a void that fills with assumptions, unspoken frustrations, and unresolved tension. Over time, this erodes trust and connection, leaving both parties dissatisfied and disconnected. Leadership provides another lens through which to examine the limits of silence. A leader's silence in the face of disrespect or wrongdoing can undermine their authority and harm the culture of their organization. Silence from a leader might be interpreted as indifference, weakness, or a lack of commitment to values and principles. Consider a scenario where a team member disrespects a colleague and the leader chooses to say nothing. The silence might be intended as an act of neutrality, but it can embolden the disrespectful behavior and discourage others from speaking out. Leadership requires courage, and that courage is often expressed through the willingness to address difficult issues directly and constructively. Speaking up in response to disrespect does not mean reacting out of anger or delivering harsh criticism. The goal is not to escalate conflict, but to clarify boundaries and restore respect. Breaking silence requires thoughtfulness, emotional intelligence, and a focus on resolution rather than retaliation. It's about communicating in a way that upholds your dignity and challenges others to do the same. Whether in personal relationships or professional settings, addressing disrespect with calm assertiveness sends a powerful message you value yourself and you expect others to do the same. Silence, when used strategically, can be a valuable prelude to action. It allows you to reflect, gather your thoughts, and approach situations with clarity and purpose. But it must not become a substitute for the words and actions that create change. Silence alone cannot correct disrespect, mend relationships, or build understanding. It is a tool to be wielded with care, not a solution to be relied upon. Silence has its place, but its power lies in its temporary nature. It provides the space to pause, think, and prepare for meaningful communication. When silence lingers too long or replaces the need to confront challenges, it becomes a barrier to growth and understanding. The key is to balance the wisdom of knowing when to remain silent with the courage to speak when it matters most. By doing so, you turn silence into a tool of empowerment rather than a passive response to life's difficulties. Disrespect is a symptom of deeper issues, often rooted in ignorance, misunderstanding, or a lack of awareness. When truth is absent, individuals operate from assumptions, biases, and false narratives, creating fertile ground for disrespect to flourish. Truth, when embraced and communicated, brings clarity, understanding, and alignment, which are essential for fostering mutual respect in any relationship or setting. The absence of truth, on the other hand, allows misconceptions to grow unchecked, breeding behavior that undermines trust and dignity. In many cases, disrespect is unintentional, arising from a lack of knowledge or awareness about another person's values, experiences, or boundaries. For example, someone might make an offhand comment about another person's culture or background without understanding its impact. In such situations, the absence of truth creates a vacuum filled with ignorance. Without intervention, this lack of understanding perpetuates a cycle of hurtful interactions as the offender remains unaware of the harm caused and the offended party feels increasingly undervalued. Disrespect also thrives in environments where people avoid addressing uncomfortable truths. Silence, avoidance, or denial can create conditions where harmful behavior goes unchallenged. For instance, in a workplace where leaders fail to confront disrespectful comments or actions, the lack of accountability sends a message that such behavior is acceptable. Over time, this fosters a toxic culture where disrespect becomes normalized. The absence of truth in these situations is not just about the lack of facts, but also the failure to uphold principles and values that promote respect and dignity. In relationships, the absence of truth can manifest as dishonesty, lack of communication, or withholding feelings and concerns. When individuals fail to express their needs, expectations, or boundaries clearly, it creates room for misunderstandings and unintentional disrespect. A partner might feel neglected or undervalued because their concerns were never voiced, leaving the other person unaware of the issue. The lack of truth prevents both parties from addressing the root cause of the problem, allowing feelings of disrespect and resentment to grow. On a broader scale, societal disrespect often stems from systemic falsehoods or widespread ignorance. Stereotypes, prejudices, and discriminatory practices are often rooted in false narratives about certain groups of people. When these untruths are perpetuated, they create an environment where disrespect is not only tolerated but institutionalized. Overcoming such deeply ingrained disrespect requires challenging the falsehoods that sustain it and replacing them with truth. This involves education, open dialogue, and a commitment to acknowledging and addressing historical and cultural realities. Truth is a powerful antidote to disrespect because it reveals the humanity, worth, and dignity of every individual. When people understand each other's perspectives, experiences, and values, they are less likely to act in ways that diminish or demean. Truth fosters empathy and connection, breaking down the barriers that lead to disrespect. It also sets a standard for accountability, as individuals who know the truth are more likely to align their actions with principles of respect and fairness. In leadership, the absence of truth can have particularly damaging consequences. Leaders who fail to communicate openly or address issues directly create an environment where disrespect thrives. For example, when a leader ignores instances of favoritism, bullying, or discrimination, they tacitly endorse such behavior. By contrast, leaders who prioritize truth and transparency set a tone of respect and integrity. They address disrespectful behavior promptly and create a culture where everyone feels valued and heard. Truth, in this context, is not just about honesty, but also about fairness and consistency in upholding standards of behavior. Overcoming disrespect requires a proactive commitment to truth. This involves not only speaking the truth, but also seeking it. It requires listening to others with an open mind, questioning assumptions, and being willing to confront uncomfortable realities. Truth-telling is not always easy. It can involve difficult conversations, admitting mistakes, or challenging deeply held beliefs. However, the long-term benefits of truth, mutual respect, trust, and understanding far outweigh the discomfort of facing it. It is also important to recognize that truth must be conveyed with care and wisdom. Harsh or tactless delivery of truth can itself be disrespectful, undermining the very respect it seeks to build. Effective communication of truth requires empathy, patience, and a genuine desire to uplift and enlighten. When truth is shared in this way, it becomes a bridge to deeper connection and mutual respect. Disrespect cannot thrive where truth is present. Truth shines a light on ignorance, dismantles falsehoods, and fosters understanding. It empowers individuals to recognize and respect each other's worth, creating a foundation for healthy and meaningful interactions. By committing to truth in our words, actions, and relationships, we not only diminish disrespect, but also cultivate a culture of respect, dignity, and harmony. Truth is the seed from which respect grows, and its absence leaves a barren ground where disrespect takes root. Relationships are among the most significant arenas for personal growth and development. Every connection we have, whether with family, friends, colleagues, or partners, serves as a classroom where lessons about ourselves and others are taught. Each interaction offers opportunities to learn about communication, empathy, patience, conflict resolution, and the essence of human connection. Just as students progress through grades in a school, relationships are structured to refine and mature us if we remain open to their teachings. At the heart of every relationship is the potential for growth. Interacting with others forces us to confront both our strengths and weaknesses. For example, a friendship might reveal our capacity for loyalty and support, while also exposing areas where we struggle, such as managing jealousy or setting healthy boundaries. Similarly, romantic relationships can highlight our ability to love deeply and communicate effectively, while also challenging us to deal with vulnerability, compromise, and forgiveness. In this way, relationships serve as mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves we might not otherwise see. The classroom of relationships is unique because its lessons are experiential. Unlike academic learning, which often happens through lectures or reading, the education we receive from relationships is deeply personal and rooted in real-life experiences. For instance, a disagreement with a loved one may teach us how to express our feelings without being hurtful or defensive. Over time, these experiences build emotional intelligence, equipping us with the tools to navigate future challenges with greater wisdom and maturity. One of the most profound lessons relationships teach is the importance of communication. Every relationship, regardless of its nature, relies on the ability to convey thoughts, feelings, and expectations clearly. Misunderstandings often arise not from ill intent, but from a failure to communicate effectively. In these moments, relationships teach us how to listen actively, express ourselves honestly, and seek clarity. Through trial and error, we learn that communication is not just about speaking, but also about understanding and being understood. Relationships also teach the value of empathy. To maintain healthy connections, we must learn to see situations from another's perspective and consider their feelings and experiences. This requires stepping outside of our own viewpoints and recognizing the validity of someone else's reality. Empathy fosters deeper connections and reduces conflict, as it allows us to respond with compassion rather than judgment. Over time, practicing empathy strengthens our ability to connect with others and builds a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Conflict is another area where relationships serve as powerful classrooms. Disagreements and misunderstandings are inevitable, but they also provide opportunities to learn about problem solving, compromise, and resilience. Healthy relationships teach us that conflict does not have to be destructive. When approached with humility and a desire to resolve issues, it can lead to growth and stronger bonds. Each conflict faced and resolved becomes a lesson in how to navigate difficulties with grace and maturity. Boundaries are another critical lesson learned through relationships. Establishing and respecting boundaries is essential for maintaining healthy dynamics. Relationships teach us to recognize when we are giving too much or too little and to understand the importance of mutual respect. Setting boundaries requires self-awareness and the courage to advocate for our needs, while respecting boundaries requires us to honor the individuality and autonomy of others. These lessons are not always easy, but they are vital for creating balance and ensuring relationships remain nurturing rather than draining. Another invaluable lesson relationships offer is the ability to embrace imperfection in ourselves and in others. No one is perfect, and no relationship is without its flaws. Learning to accept imperfections helps us build resilience and patience. It allows us to focus on the strengths of a relationship rather than its shortcomings. This perspective shift fosters gratitude and contentment, helping us to appreciate the unique value each person brings into our lives. Relationships also challenge us to grow beyond our comfort zones. Whether it's stepping into a leadership role in a professional setting, being vulnerable in a romantic relationship, or supporting a friend during a difficult time, relationships often require us to stretch ourselves in ways we didn't think possible. These challenges build character and teach us new skills, preparing us for future experiences. It's important to remember that not all relationships are meant to last forever, but every relationship has a purpose. Some teach us lessons we'll carry for a lifetime, even if the connection itself is temporary. A mentor might provide invaluable guidance during a critical period of our lives, or a friendship that ends might teach us the importance of self-respect and knowing when to walk away. The relationships are dynamic and evolving classrooms that shape who we are and who we become. They challenge us, nurture us, and teach us lessons that no other experience can. By embracing the learning opportunities within each connection, we grow in wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Whether joyful or challenging, every relationship adds to our personal curriculum, equipping us with the tools to build richer, more meaningful lives. When we approach relationships with an open heart and a willingness to learn, we unlock their full potential as the greatest teachers in our journey of life. Silence is often considered a sign of wisdom, a way to avoid unnecessary conflict or to maintain peace in challenging situations. However, in the face of disrespect, silence can have the opposite effect. When you choose to remain silent in the face of disrespect, you are not eliminating the conflict, you are internalizing it, creating a silent war that festers within. This war is not only damaging to your own mental and emotional well-being, but also to the relationship or environment in which the disrespect occurred. Silence in these moments can transform into a breeding ground for resentment, misunderstanding, and disconnection. Disrespect is an act that undermines the dignity, worth, or boundaries of another person. It might be overt, such as a rude comment, or subtle, like dismissiveness or condescension. Regardless of its form, disrespect challenges your self-respect and tests the integrity of the relationship or interaction. When you respond to such an act with silence, it sends an unintended message. To the person who disrespected you, your silence may appear as acceptance or approval of their behavior. They may believe their actions were justified or harmless because there was no corrective response. Over time, this emboldens the behavior, creating a cycle where disrespect becomes normalized. Silence in the face of disrespect creates its own set of consequences. The first casualty in this silent war is often your sense of self-worth. By not addressing the disrespect, you may feel as though you are devaluing your own voice and boundaries. This can lead to feelings of powerlessness, frustration, and even self-blame. The unresolved emotions tied to the incident can linger, resurfacing in unexpected ways and affecting your interactions with others. This silent war is not limited to the individual who remains silent. It also affects the relationship as a whole. When disrespect goes unaddressed, it creates an invisible rift between the parties involved. The person who felt disrespected might begin to withdraw emotionally, avoiding deeper connection out of fear of further hurt. The unspoken tension can grow, making it harder to rebuild trust and mutual respect. What began as a single incident of disrespect can snowball into a larger issue that threatens the foundation of the relationship. In group settings, such as workplaces or communities, silence in the face of disrespect can have even broader implications. When disrespectful behavior is ignored, it sets a precedent for others to follow. Silence becomes complicity, signaling that such behavior is acceptable or tolerable. Over time, this creates a toxic environment where disrespect thrives and individuals feel unsafe or undervalued. In such scenarios, the silent wars are not just between two people, they extend to the entire group, eroding morale, trust, and collaboration. Addressing disrespect does not mean responding with anger or escalating the conflict. Instead, it requires thoughtful and intentional communication. Breaking the silence is about affirming your boundaries and expressing your feelings in a way that fosters understanding and resolution. For example, if a colleague makes a dismissive remark during a meeting, addressing it calmly and professionally can clarify that such behavior is not acceptable. A response like, "I feel disrespected when comments like that are made. Can we discuss this further to ensure we maintain a positive environment?" opens the door for dialogue rather than confrontation. Breaking the silence also benefits the person who displayed disrespectful behavior. Often people act disrespectfully out of ignorance, stress, or miscommunication rather than malice. Addressing the issue gives them an opportunity to reflect on their actions, apologize, and make amends. It fosters growth and mutual respect, strengthening the relationship rather than allowing it to deteriorate. It is also important to acknowledge that addressing disrespect takes courage, especially when power dynamics are involved. Confronting a superior at work, a family elder, or someone in a position of authority can feel daunting. In such cases, seeking support from trusted allies, documenting incidents, or addressing the issue in a neutral setting can provide a safer way to navigate the situation. The key is to ensure that your voice is heard in a manner that upholds your dignity and promotes constructive outcomes. The consequences of prolonged silence are too significant to ignore. Left unchecked, the silent wars created by unresolved disrespect can lead to fractured relationships, diminished self-esteem, and toxic environments. Over time, these consequences take a toll on mental and emotional health, making it harder to trust, connect, and thrive. Silence in the face of disrespect may seem like an easy way to avoid conflict, but it often leads to more significant challenges. It creates silent wars within individuals and relationships, perpetuating cycles of hurt and misunderstanding. Addressing disrespect with courage and clarity is not about creating enemies, it is about setting boundaries, fostering growth, and building stronger, healthier connections. By breaking the silence, you not only protect your own well-being, but also contribute to an environment where respect is valued and upheld. Confrontation is often misunderstood and mischaracterized as an aggressive or hostile act. Many people avoid it altogether, fearing conflict or the potential to damage relationships. However, confrontation, when approached with the right intentions and mindset, is an act of courage rather than aggression. It requires strength to face difficult situations, honesty to address the truth, and vulnerability to express your emotions or perspectives. Far from being destructive, confrontation is a tool for growth, resolution, and the reinforcement of healthy boundaries. At its core, confrontation is about addressing an issue directly rather than letting it fester. It takes courage to acknowledge that something is wrong and to take the necessary steps to bring it to light. Avoidance might feel easier in the moment, but unresolved issues often grow into larger problems over time. When you confront a situation, you are choosing to face discomfort in the short term to achieve clarity, understanding, and peace in the long term. This choice requires bravery because it often involves stepping out of your comfort zone and facing uncertainty. One of the reasons confrontation is often perceived as aggressive is because it is frequently associated with anger or hostility. While it's true that confrontation can sometimes arise in heated moments, it doesn't have to be adversarial. In fact, confrontation is most effective when it is approached with calmness, empathy, and a desire to resolve rather than escalate. It is about addressing the behavior, misunderstanding, or issue at hand, not attacking the person involved. This distinction is critical because it shifts the focus from blame to resolution, creating an environment where both parties can engage constructively. Confrontation is also an act of respect, not just for yourself, but for the other person involved. When you confront someone, you are signaling that the relationship matters enough for you to address the issue rather than letting resentment build. Silence or avoidance, on the other hand, can lead to misunderstandings, unspoken frustrations, and emotional distance. By confronting a problem, you are giving the other person an opportunity to explain, apologize, or adjust their behavior, which can ultimately strengthen the relationship. In professional settings, confrontation is often necessary for maintaining accountability and fostering a productive environment. A manager who avoids confronting an underperforming team member, for instance, does a disservice not only to that individual but also to the entire team. Addressing the issue directly allows for improvement and growth, ensuring that standards are upheld and everyone has the opportunity to succeed. Similarly, employees who confront their superiors respectfully about concerns or challenges demonstrate initiative and a commitment to the organization's well-being. The courage required for confrontation also comes from the vulnerability it demands. Expressing how someone's actions have affected you or stating your needs openly can feel risky. There is always the possibility that the other person might not respond as you hope, or that the conversation might not go as planned. However, this vulnerability is essential for building authentic connections. When you approach confrontation with sincerity and a willingness to listen, it creates a space for mutual understanding and resolution. Effective confrontation requires preparation and emotional intelligence. It begins with clarity about your own feelings and the specific issue you want to address. But approaching the conversation with empathy is equally important, considering the other person's perspective and how they might feel during the discussion. Framing the confrontation in a way that focuses on the issue rather than assigning blame can also make a significant difference. For example, saying, "I felt hurt when you didn't acknowledge my contribution," is far more constructive than saying, "You always ignore me." Timing and tone play crucial roles in successful confrontation. Choosing a private, neutral setting for the discussion helps ensure that both parties feel safe and respected. A calm and measured tone signals that your intention is to resolve the issue rather than escalate tensions. It is also important to listen actively during the conversation, giving the other person a chance to share their perspective. Confrontation is a two-way exchange, and true resolution comes from understanding and addressing the concerns of both sides. It is worth noting that not all confrontations lead to immediate resolution or agreement, and that is okay. The act of confronting an issue is valuable in itself because it sets the stage for future dialogue and change. Even if the other person does not respond as hoped, you have taken a step toward honoring your boundaries and expressing your truth. Over time, this practice builds confidence and reinforces a sense of self-respect. Confrontation is not an act of aggression, it is an act of courage that requires honesty, empathy, and a willingness to engage constructively. It is about addressing issues directly rather than allowing them to grow unchecked, fostering healthier relationships and environments. When approached with the right mindset, confrontation becomes a tool for growth, understanding, and resolution, demonstrating respect for yourself and others. By embracing confrontation as a courageous act, you empower yourself to face challenges with strength and integrity, paving the way for deeper connections and lasting change. True leadership is more than having a vision. While vision is critical, it defines the direction, purpose, and goals. It is incomplete without the ability to articulate and inspire others to embrace that vision. A leader's voice is the bridge between the dream and its realization, the means by which ideas are shared, trust is built, and collective action is galvanized. Without a voice, even the most transformative vision can languish in obscurity, failing to inspire the change it seeks to achieve. Voice in the context of leadership is more than the act of speaking. It represents the ability to communicate clearly, passionately, and authentically. It is the medium through which leaders connect with their audience, whether that audience is a team, an organization, or an entire community. A leader with a compelling voice doesn't merely relay information, they stir emotions, ignite passions, and create a sense of shared purpose. They translate abstract ideas into tangible actions, making the vision accessible and actionable for others. Communication is the cornerstone of effective leadership. A leader's voice carries the weight of their values, beliefs, and convictions. When leaders articulate their vision with clarity and conviction, they inspire confidence and trust. People are naturally drawn to leaders who communicate with purpose, as it reassures them that the path forward is deliberate and meaningful. On the other hand, a leader who remains silent or struggles to convey their message can leave their team feeling uncertain, unmotivated, or disconnected from the larger mission. The power of voice is most evident in moments of crisis or uncertainty. During challenging times, people look to their leaders for guidance, reassurance, and direction. A leader who speaks with calm authority and empathy can stabilize a turbulent situation and provide a sense of hope. Conversely, a leader who fails to address the moment risks creating a vacuum of doubt and confusion. Silence in these moments is often interpreted as indifference or a lack of preparedness, eroding trust and credibility. Voice is also a tool for fostering collaboration and inclusivity. True leadership recognizes that no vision can be achieved in isolation. It requires the collective effort of a diverse group of people. A leader's voice must therefore not only express their own ideas, but also amplify the voices of others. By creating an open dialogue and encouraging participation, leaders demonstrate that every individual's contribution is valued. This inclusivity strengthens the collective commitment to the vision and ensures that it reflects the perspectives and needs of the group. Authenticity is a key component of a leader's voice. People are far more likely to follow a leader who speaks from the heart, aligning their words with their actions. Authenticity fosters trust as it demonstrates that the leader's motives are genuine and rooted in integrity. A leader who uses their voice to admit mistakes, share personal experiences, or express vulnerability creates a deeper connection with their audience. This transparency humanizes the leader, making them more relatable and approachable. Another important aspect of voice is adaptability. Leadership occurs in a variety of contexts, and the way a leader communicates must be tailored to the situation. Addressing a team of employees requires a different tone and approach than speaking to a room of stakeholders or addressing the public. A skilled leader understands their audience and adapts their voice to meet their needs while remaining true to their core message. This flexibility ensures that the vision resonates across different groups and contexts. Voice is not limited to formal speeches or announcements, it is expressed in everyday interactions. The way a leader speaks to their team, listens to feedback, and responds to challenges reflects their leadership style and values. A leader who communicates respectfully and thoughtfully, even in difficult situations, sets a tone for the entire organization. Their voice becomes a model for how others should engage with one another, shaping the culture and dynamics of the group. Ultimately, vision without voice is like a map without a guide. It provides direction but lacks the human connection necessary to inspire action. True leadership requires both a clear vision that defines the destination and a compelling voice that rallies people to move toward it. Leaders must be willing to speak, not for the sake of being heard, but to empower, uplift, and unite those they lead. In conclusion, the essence of true leadership lies in the ability to combine vision with voice. Vision provides purpose and direction, while voice translates that vision into action, connection, and collective effort. A leader's voice must be clear, authentic, and inclusive, resonating with the hearts and minds of those they lead. It must inspire trust in times of uncertainty, foster collaboration in pursuit of shared goals, and embody the values that underpin the vision. Without a voice, leadership loses its ability to inspire and mobilize, leaving even the most brilliant vision unrealized. True leaders understand the power of their voice and use it to bring their vision to life.